Hey there, it's time for the show, the Tatiana Show, where you make friends and talk life and crypto. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tatiana Show. I'm very happy to be joined today by Isabela Bagueros from the Tor Project. We're going to be talking about why you would need all this privacy. What is the Tor thing? What is this onion router? It doesn't even make sense. But we're going to find out. It's not a cooking class. We're going to be talking about privacy. I'm joined, of course, by my co-host, Josh Agala of Vortoro. Hey, Josh, how's it going?
Tatiana, I am doing wonderfully well. It's a really exciting show. I'm always fascinated to talk about privacy on the internet. I think it's a very important topic, and more people are joining us in that opinion.
I think so too. So let's, without any further ado, let's welcome Isabela onto the show. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tatiana, and thank you, Joshua, for having me at the show. I'm super excited. I think we've been talking about having this conversation for a while, so I'm super happy that we're doing it finally.
Yes. Well, some things are good about being at home. You can meet with people, although we always do these shows. Sometimes we do them in person. We're actually going to be doing some Tatiana shows over at PorkFest and at Anarco Vegas, so people can check out for that. But that's not what we're here for. We met at a Bitcoin conference and we were introduced by Ryan Singer, who's a big supporter of Tor. And for me, I was a music person getting into crypto, and I was thinking, what the heck is this Tor thing? And over the years, I've learned, and I believe that we have some audience members that maybe haven't. So before we really dive into why privacy is important, maybe you could give me a little bit of an overview on the history of the project and how you got involved.
Yes. So actually, Tor goes back. The project officially as Tor as a nonprofit, it started around 2003, when it came out of the paper was written and developed, and the research was progressing inside of DARPA. It's not a secret. It's on our webpage, and we talk about that history. But at some point, Roger and Nick, they took the code, and that's where the onion routing idea became actually like the onion router, which is Tor, right? Like what stands for Tor. And they publish it as open source, and with a little bit of help, financial help from EFF, actually, they could found a nonprofit and carry on as a free project that is owned by everybody, and it's like public, kind of like public domain, right? Like, and it's also a decentralized project as well, in a way, I will explain more about how that works. I actually got to learn about Tor and use Tor very early, when was before having a browser. You would have a gigabit to connect to the network, to the Tor network, and then which was called Vidalia. Later on, they made it that part of a browser, a fork for Firefox, to make it easier for people to do the connection. I have being a supporter, being a user for a long time, and back in 2015, I joined finally the project, first as a project manager, and then in 2018, they picked me to become the director, the executive director. So in November, I took over as the director of the project. Tor is, in a sense, the main product that we have. It is the network. It's the protocol that forms the network. This network is composed by over 6,000 volunteers running servers all around the world. And when we say the onion routing, we mean that when you are you want to connect to a website or anything on the internet via Tor, what happens is that your connection is routed through 3 of these servers. And on every instance of communication between each one of these nodes is encrypted in a different layer. So that's where the onion thing comes from. It's like layers, and just like the onion, layers of encryption. And of course, it's more complex than that, but this is a very simple way to just say what Tor, the difference between, I would say, Tor and a VPN is the decentralization of it, right? So we had the network, and like I explained before, we created the browser eventually to make it easier for people to connect to that network. And with the browser, we also brought to people some other aspects of protecting their privacy that is not related to the connection on the wire, you know, like, because the network is all about the connection on the wire, as a matter, like a way of saying it, right? Like, this is about like protecting on the client side, because there is still ways of identifying you, even you using a VPN or something to like hide your connection, you know, protect what you're doing. Your client can still give away some information. So we did some modifications on that. And eventually, also, which is another piece of what Tor does, we created a technology called OnionShare. And OnionShare is like, before, what we were doing is providing a way for people to browse the web anonymously, right? And with OnionShare, we are creating a way for people to offer content, to offer something in the web anonymously. So they also, the provider of the service can be doing that anonymously, right? And I think like this is a way for others to provide what our technology offers, the security, the anonymization, and the circumvention to their users in their product, be that a website or be that an application or something like that. So in short, this is what Tor is, this is what we do, and a little bit of my history.
That was a great overview. Thank you so much. Okay, so there's a lot of different things to unpack there, but something that's really just something I wanted to kind of clear up. So there's the dark web, and then there's Tor, which allows you to access the dark web. Is it the only way to get to the dark web? How do they relate to one another?
Yeah, actually, we try to explain to people that there is no dark web. You know, like dark web is just like a term that is used very loosely. Actually, if you try to like research what that actually means, and people say, oh, it's all the unindexed websites out there in the world. You know, like there are many websites that cannot be indexed, like the content inside of them. Like Netflix is one of them. You know, would you call Netflix the dark web? You know, like, and then some people claim that no, the dark web are these onion servers that I was explaining. You know, like, and then we really don't like that term. I think that term, you know, like. It's a myth in a way. The whole iceberg kind of like figure that is not like a scientifically correct if you actually like want to look at numbers and what is like what is bigger. Because if you are using the definition that dark web is onion servers, then that bottom of the iceberg is a lie. Because if you look at our metrics, that Tor Project web.org website, and you can actually see the number of like onion addresses that is on the network right now, is on like a handful of thousands, you know, like, and that would never be the number that the iceberg, you know, like figure is showing, right? Like, so it's actually like the other way around. I think like we're on the top and the internet is on the bottom. And so that is like some media outlets, even like when some group posts, you know, dump some information on a pad, you know, like the pad is being indexed and they say, oh, they put this on the dark web. So like we try to really like explain this to people that it's just like a term that the media has been using, you know, it's very loose. There is not even a clear like a definition of what that means. And what Tor is, what we do is privacy enhancing technology. That's what we do, you know, like, and OnionShare is that, you know, like, and it's not necessarily a mechanism to access some meat of a dark web somewhere. I have heard people when I'm explaining that people who actually need Tor, you know, who is under like threat, who is like being target of surveillance. And this hurt us because when I'm explaining this to them, they come to me and say like, oh no, this is like where all the hackers are, they're gonna find me. You know, I'm like, no, like this is actually protecting you. So I want to make clear that this is just like technology is like Tor allows you to browse the internet normally, like any other person, you know, like actually the most case of usage of Tor just to browse the internet is not like to access on your servers particularly, you know, but the only way you can browse those servers that I'm talking about is with the Tor browser through the Tor network. You cannot access them with any other normal server. So yes, if you are trying to access one of the Onion servers, you need Tor browser to do that. Yeah.
Okay, so you touched on this a little bit, but what would you normally find in the dark web? Because the suspicion is oh, that's where all the child porn is and all the evil stuff. Then I've also heard that there's a lot of political dissidents, and then I've heard that there's a lot of rogue government agencies. So what's going on in that dark web? Why do they need it other than to do bad things?
So again, there is no dark web, there is nothing going on in the dark web.
Unindexed web.
Yeah.
Why are they going incognito?
So let me explain who uses this technology, right? Like there is no dark web. Like who needs this technology? Who is using this technology? Again, what it is, what is the proposal of that? This is an easy way for you to embed the solution that we have created into your product and offer that same type of protection to your users. So one company who have done that is Facebook, right? Facebook decided to do this because Facebook is blocked in many countries, and most of the people who try to circumvent that censorship to access Facebook become target of surveillance. So the safest way to circumvent and be protected, because VPN, you're not doing both things. You might be circumventing, but like you're not fully protected from surveillance, So the easiest way that you can do that, especially with Onion service, because like I said, it's something that happens inside of our network. So for you to have an idea, when you say end-to-end encryption, most of the time, those solutions like Signal and others are encrypting the content of the information that you're sharing. The metadata is still exposed. When you're doing that with Onion servers, the metadata is also protected. If it's not completely hidden, you can build solution that it does not even exist, so there is not even metadata to be looking at. So that is like a full, complete, safe solution for users. So Facebook have adopted that. So if anyone is trying to claim that every single Onion site in the world is part of the so-called dark web, then I have to tell you that the biggest one in the world is Facebook. So, because they have billions of users. So they are the biggest website on the so-called, dark web. But again, that is not dark web, that is just this technology and who uses it. So I can give you an example of news website, BBC, New York Times, BBC recently, they have adopted this, to help people who've been censored for accessing news. I can give you an example of people who would bootstrap an Onion address that is temporary just to share some information with another person, And I can give you example of other websites who are giving this option for people who want to be more safe when accessing them. Actually, last week, we had an amazing launch on our Tor Browser, 9.5 version, where we had a bunch of new features and improvement on the experience for Onion, people who are accessing Onion sites, right? And one of them is the ability for you, let's say you have the Tatiana Show website. If you want to create an Onion address for your show, you can create the Onion address and you can put on the header of your page, the HTML of your page as a meta tag. And then if one of your listeners is coming to your website through the browser and they're typing the clear address, like Tatiana Show address, it will identify that you have an option of an Onion site and will prompt that user saying, do you want to have a secure connection with this website? Go through the Onion address that they have offering. So this is a new feature that we have created. And since we created that, so many diverse, random websites from small bloggers, from big websites start to reach out to us because it's such an easy thing to do. And by default, we will be providing all these features to your user, and will be discoverable by your users too, because if they are already using Tor Browser to access your website, they want this type of security. And when they type the clear address and we direct them to our Onion address, they will know the security have increased it even further because they're not getting out of the network or the Tor network to the open web, So I can tell you government agencies, yes, CIA have created an Onion address, and they put it on the website as an Onion address. And I believe it from the press release that they sent, this was something for recruitment, to have security on recruitment and stuff like that. I have seen especially like in the global south, groups who fight for, like women's reproductive rights when they are like illegal, creating those sites so they could protect themselves as they're sharing information about, like how to make an abortion at home and stuff like that, which is illegal. And you, like, just by sharing that information, you can go to jail. Like, I'm from Brazil, and it is illegal in my country to do that. I can be collaborating to someone to commit a crime. That's what they would charge me. And so that is multiple reasons for someone to be using the Onion site. On the top of that, there's some applications. That is a very cool application that I recommend everybody who wants to share any files on the internet to start using it. It's called OnionShare. And the way it works is that you load the application, the little window is going to show, you drop your files, just like Dropbox or other apps similar to that. And then you press a button, it will initiate a service. So you become the server. There's no third party, there's no cloud, there's nothing like that. And as long as your computer is on, it will create a Onion address, and you can share that address. And as long as your computer is on, the people who you're sharing the file with will be able to access and download it, And this is completely like secure. There is no metadata. Nobody knows who is sharing the file with who. And such a feature might be nice for some people, but it's crucial for others. Like we've been training people in countries where there is a lot of, murder committed by state forces, and for human rights defenders and the communities who are targeted by those state forces to communicate and share evidence of those cases. They need to use a tool like that, because it's even dangerous. Because if they use a signal, let me explain. The files that they're exchanging is encrypted and nobody knows what they're talking. But they know that that person from the community is talking with that malware because the metadata is exposed. But if they're using OnionShare, the state forces will not even know who is talking with who, So that protects, one, the malware who's doing the work and the investigation, and also protects the person who is giving that information to the malware,
Amazing.
Yeah.
Really, really cool stuff. There's just so much amazing work being done by the Tor Project. Always has been. One of the, first of all, I want to say that it's really good that you are also thinking about language, because this whole nonsense of the dark web or the deep web, it's so sort of like you don't even want to touch it because you think, oh, the dark web, And this is something that the media has always pumped out, that it's the dark web. When really, like you said, Netflix is dark. Facebook actually is dark behind your login. If you set the settings right, only people that you invite in can see. So the whole notion is ridiculous. So it's really good to think about language and how language is used as a weapon to stop mainstream adoption. I love things like the file sharing stuff. Now, one of the things that was always hard with Tor back in the day was the fact that it was so slow. And so everyone was like, please don't use Tor for torrenting because you're just going to clog the network and stuff like that. So what's happened to the network? What steps have you guys taken to A, speed up the network, and B, allow something like file sharing to happen across such an amazing network?
Unmute. Okay, yes. Yes, so I recommend people who have used it before to use it again, because it has indeed improved over the years, but we still have so much room to improve on that front. I will explain one project that we have going on right now. So for folks who are home, have the idea, the complexity of like what involves, because so far the improvements we have done are like the lower hanging fruit, but like more complex, high impact improvement this requires us to redesign, our technical design. And for us to do that, we need to go a lot of scrutiny to make sure that we're not creating vulnerabilities and all of that, right? Like, so this decentralized network that Tor has, right? Like how we know who is out there, who is part of this network, right? Like if anyone can be part of this network, how we know, how we can map it, right? Like, and understand what is available for our user to build a connection, right? So inside of this network, we have what we call it directed authorities. And those like a handful of servers from people that are trustworthy who run these direct authorities that each one of them in a simplistic way, take a look at, and they say, this is what I'm seeing. And they share the picture of the network that they're seeing. And then they all combine that and they achieve a consensus of what is the network at that moment. And that consensus is sent to all the clients. And this is updated like every hour. So we are on the top of the game, right? Like it can change any moment, right? Like a server can go down, another one can go up. So it's problematic in many ways. Because if you think about this, the more we grow, like right now we have 6,000 people, like servers in this network. Imagine if we are successful on our mission and we have 20,000. Imagine the size of this file that someone needs to come and download to understand who is out there, So we've been smarter about that in the lower hanging fruit type of way, because we've been doing the GIF of the file so you don't load as much, but it's a lot of traffic inside of our network being consumed just by this consensus communication, the pings and the information, the exchange, all of this is clogging up pipes, just like to understand the network, not by our users, So we have a project called Walking Onions. It's a paper, and this paper right now, we are actually putting that into practice. And we are just finishing the first phase of the project, which was writing the technical implementation, and we're gonna move forward into the actual implementation. And Walking Onions is supposed to solve this problem as we scale, like it's supposed to also help with the whole consensus and downloading and sharing and acknowledgement process. It's a little bit complex. I can share, and you guys can put it with the readers, some URLs for folks who actually want to read the paper, and understand how we're doing this. But this is just to show the type of problems we need to solve, moving forward to be able to scale and to also improve our performances. Another thing we're doing too is experimentation pipeline. So we're creating a way for us to experiment change on the network with simulators of the network and so forth to help us on that mission.
Is there a crypto play with Tor and Bitcoin and stuff? I mean, what's been the partnership with the crypto space and the Tor network?
So this is great that you asked this question, because this project that I just explained, the Walking Onions, the investment for the seed investment for like writing the technical design and all that came actually from the Zcash Foundation, so they have interest also in solving this type of helping us solve this type of project. And I think so far with the community, we share very similar values, and we've been very supportive of each other in not only financially, but also, in coming together to community events and other things like that. So technology-wise, some of the cryptocurrency folks and, are adopting Tor in the products as also like a feature for like a privacy solution for their users, right? Which is great. I think internally at Tor, we had considered, and this is a long conversation, and I'm not like making any promise or anything like that, but a token a token generator would help us solve some problems if we had that going on with inside of Tor. So we are like identifying what is the first problems that we could explore, like if we are to adopt that. More are the areas that we are looking is related to anti-abuse. So for instance, our exit relays the last server on the Tor network. All the other servers are part of the Tor network because we do this consensus thing. They're public. Everybody can see who are part of all the IPs, right? So the exit ones are the one that takes your traffic to the site that you're trying to access, right? To the clear internet, whatever. So normally, some service that like wants to protect the sites against attacks, by default, they just block Tor, and you need to deal with captures and stuff like that. So having a way to exchange a token that gives confidence that that is like a human and not like a robot or an attacker would like be something that would give this, trust, handshake, validation that would be holding for a longer time. And you would not see as many captures as you're browsing the internet. If you can have that type of adoption going on with, which is some solution that we had discussed with Cloudflare before, So we're thinking more about this and maybe doing that ourselves. And also for Onion servers, it can be a way to allow people access a website if they're being DDoSed, because it's something that already happens. And, like we are fighting that inside of the Tor network, these servers that I'm talking about, they are also target of the DDoS attacks. So this would be a way to identify humans versus machine and allow some traffic to the website while blocking others. It's very soon. It's like, I don't know if we're adopting that yet.
There are so many great ideas there. And I've always thought that, one of the biggest problems in the early days, and maybe you sort of touched upon it there, was the exit nodes and the attack vector of some government agency basically running the mass majority of exit nodes. And then you would be opened up by going through their exit node, and or some sort of data leak would happen. So it would be really nice if it was incentivized to run exit nodes through some sort of blockchain or even the Lightning Network or something on Zeta or something where you could constantly be paying for services and be paid to run an exit node. Because right now to run an exit node is kind of risky as well. Like I'd be like, oh, I don't know, what kind of weird shit's going to come through my internet. And it'd be like, I don't want to risk that. So, I think there's so much to play there with in terms of economic theory and how to incentivize an amazing network like this to have players adding resources to the network. By the way, the walking onion stuff is really great. I really love the idea of removing that directory overhead away from the users, and have that resource pushed out. It's really great. I love seeing that Tor's moving forward. Is there anything that you guys are doing to, because this is a constant arms race, right? And now there's also, was it I2P or what's it called? The competition to Tor. Is that something that are you guys in a true competition, or do you guys somehow work together with technologies? Because there is, or is there like an ultimate technology that uses both in a way to have ultimate privacy? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't like, no, we're not in competition. Actually, like the folks on I2P, they come to the Tor meetings. We all like always hanging out like in the community events and stuff like that. And no, I feel like, I guess the difference here is just that Tor has been around for so long and is adopted by millions of people already, so definitely like from the other similar types of solutions out there, we end up being attractive because of the consistency over time and the adoption that we have. And I say attractive in a way sometimes for even researchers, right? Like we have this huge support from the research community because it's so easy to find, solutions that is on paper, but like actually solution that is on production with an adoption of like millions of people, like to look at is like, is a whole different game, So I think it's cool to have, others also thinking about the same problem, especially if they're investing in the same spirit that we are investing, like with the free software, open source spirit, free access, also with the ethics, that transparency, like to guarantee the trust, because that is another point too, I feel that the solution will gain traction also based on the trust and how the project that carries on the solution behaves, because I feel there might be so many stakeholders out there that, that also counts, and I2P and other folks are doing this. They are very close to our philosophy and the way we think. And I think that is very exciting and we can help. I don't know of any solution that are using both, but I have seen people combining solutions that are more related to the peer-to-peer kind of like mesh network kind of thing, especially of situations where there is internet shutdown, and so they have like a Tor solution for circumvention, in the app, and they are thinking about like, but how can I do a P2P kind of like connection, if it's needed when there is no internet? Because this is actually like starting to happen very often in a few countries already, so. So there's like I guess like an example of combined solutions that people might be using because of different problems and different use cases, like that they are like putting on the product.
Can I just say, one of the things that constantly comes up is, of course, the horrific stuff that is shared in the dark. And the people that I've met that have worked in the field of Tor and I2P, they are usually very morally driven. You can see that from the cypherpunks like Julian Assange. They're very driven by to make the world a better place, actually. And it's very hard for these people to deal sometimes with some of the awful side of humanity that they're exposed to. Because this awful side of humanity is also exposed to some of the workers at Facebook and YouTube, that they have to crawl this stuff and that's flagged, and they're psychologically tormented by some of this the stuff that they see and have to censor. And where I was going with this is, how do you personally come to terms with that? Because sometimes, you'll just be traveling along the web and something horrific might pop out of the side. And it's like, I now have to deal with this. And I've got a following statement to that after.
Yeah, I think like nobody comes to terms with it, right? Like I think definitely like me personally, I extremely dislike the fact that the technology that we're building can be used because we are in a very hard position, right? Like, because for us to do what we do and be successful on what we do, it needs to be open and free for all, like we cannot create barriers, but because it's open and free for all, like people doing really terrible, terroristic things can also use that to do what they're doing, right? Like, and we really, really hate that. We don't like that. Nobody working at Tor wants our technology to be used that way. And for many years, we were like, well, if we try to do anything, because like we are in a different position from Facebook and other social media, right? Like we definitely don't know who holds the content, where the content is going by design, like there is no way. And if we start to enabling a way, it's always can be like, it can be opening, like vulnerability for the people we want to protect, like the so-called backdoor debate with law enforcement, like we're not in favor of that neither. We have a social contract with people that like our users and the world, like promising certain things, and those are one of those. That said, we, I can say that like for sure in the last like 8 months or so inside of Tor, we have been reaching out and meeting with organizations who fight, child porn, especially who fighting child porn, and talking with them a lot, talking about the point of view where they come from, of like how this can be, how you can fight this, and what are the solutions that within our limitations we could be building, and like trying to work with that. It is not an easy problem to solve. I'm really open, and like I'm taking the time here to do my pitch to like people who are thinking about this type of problem and want to help us think about this type of problem, to please reach out, because I've been reaching out to many different people. A while ago, someone who's been also thinking and talking and working a lot about on this field is Alex Stamos. He's like, he used to be on Facebook and now he's on Stanford, like in the institute that is really, really going deep. And I had a long conversation with him about this topic, and we were brainstorming solution. It's not easy, it's not easy. But that said, I think I'm definitely not like, I want to like not be in the hotspot and be like, oh, what I do, what I cannot do, you know, like I'm never gonna break the social contract, but I want to pursue ways of doing and like dealing with this, because we inside of Tor, like you said, the community and other people who are devoting their lives for this type of project, these type of uses are the things that we would never ever support to be done inside of our, you know, with our technology.
Yeah, you know, it's, for me, the internet has, it's like money. Money, it needs to be totally free of any sort of moral judgments, because to work properly, to work efficiently, it just needs to be value that gets transferred. And as soon as you start tracing money, it becomes less useful, because when I receive some money, now I have to check where that's been, whose hands, and then trace who are these people? Are they baddies? Are they goodies? And it just becomes awful. So another form of money will be easier to use, and everyone will gravitate to that. I think at the end of the day, it comes back to good old-fashioned police work. Of course, it's easy tracking money through the banking system. So the police are like, oh, well, we can't stop that because it's super easy to track down the baddies. But at the end of the day, the old school way of tracking down bad guys is to, start fake conversations or pretend you're a client, whatever, try to get in there, sneak them software that will get, try to do good old-fashioned police work. And this is something that I think has fallen off. So a lot of people are like, we've got to put in ways to track because otherwise the police can't do their job. That's not true. The police can do their job. But then, there's also other ways of dealing with these problems because I've also thought about these problems a little bit in my, totally naive ways. But again, comes back to currency, by somehow incentivizing good actors rather than punishing bad ones. You can drive more routing traffic through to good content, and it sort of buries the crap one, so it's harder to find in the network. I don't know, and allow society to be able to, as a whole, weight search results, I don't know, somehow, or whatever you're trying to find, or routing results in the network. I don't know. Maybe there's something there. One of your amazing, smart people there at the Tor Project has probably thought of it about way more than I have. But yeah.
I think a couple of things you said is very true. Like the value, I'm not talking about money value, but value. So if we should value privacy enhancing technology. We should not criminalize privacy enhancing technology. That is extremely important, that differences, and we call it, we remember the crypto wars, now we are in another one, and all of this is about criminalization of privacy enhancing technology, of the popularization of that. And that's extremely important, and we should not jeopardize those technologies because of things, like you said, it could be dealt with in the real life by, old school, just doing work. While we still are in touch with the organizations that are fighting this and trying to find ways that we can manage this better ourselves, I truly believe that I'm from Brazil. I'm from the global south, very poor area. Brazil is not even the poorest of the countries out there. And in my country, and I will say in other countries that are very poor, if you go to tourist areas, you're going to see a lot of people exploiting children, and it's open and clear in the world. It's not hidden under anything. It's right there on your face, and it's very sad. It's very revolting. It's disgusting. And there are many people from the north, especially, is traveling to our countries and doing that, and it's open in the air. You can see their faces, you can identify their passports, you can do the old school, really good police work, and also, go after the people who are not even trying to hide, because it's not that hard to see happening, unfortunately. And breaks my heart to say that, because I think what people are saying, oh, the technology is enabling. It is enabling to go to the virtual world, but it's not enabling to exist because it exists in the real life too. So I think there's a lot of things that can be done in general.
I remember they busted these guys that had a terrorist plot, and it turned out they were doing that all through SMS. Oh no, that's right. It was they followed through with it. It was something in UK, and then they were just using the open SMS system anyway. They weren't even encrypting. They weren't even bothering with anything. So this whole nonsense, like, ooh, we can't stop encryption because then we can't follow or try to track them. Well, they don't even track them in the open silly SMS world.
I don't mean to be conspiratorial, but obviously, Epstein was working with a lot of high powered individuals. There's a lot of questioning in the US about what's going on with pedo rings in Hollywood and in government. And it starts to feel a little bit like, is government complicit? Because there's so much of this child pornography going on, and they're obviously selling them openly in South America. So why isn't this getting routed out? And do you feel like you guys sometimes get the brunt of the blame? Because I think that people associate Tor with trying to do something bad, but I don't really see much responsibility being taken by government agencies around this. And I don't know. I mean, have you ever kind of worked with any agencies that were helpful? And how does that balance out if there's some bad guys in the bunch?
Yes. And I mean, I feel this is not particular of Tor. I think even like Apple, right? Like when they try to provide encryption to the masses, by putting it on the iPhone and doing all the work they were doing, which is right. They should be doing that, that was a huge backlash, from the Congress and everybody saying, oh my God, we're never going to be able, blah, blah, blah. And at the end, they did their job and they did everything that they had to do without, forcing Apple to create a backdoor and all of that, So I think there's always been this fear mongering against, enabling people to protect the privacy, like from the get-go when the encryption, came to be, there was always this control that it cannot be owned by the civilians, it's like state-owned and technology only, So I think it's part of that general, debate that we're having. And again, I say cannot criminalize privacy and enhancing technology. Regarding, I feel like, we do, we want to, tell people to, I said, right, with the dark web and all of this, we're always trying to educate people, and be no, let's try to, because I know all of you, I know you all, we all supporters, we all supporting the same ideas and supporting the same mission, and want the same thing. So I think it's good that we start to think should we be using this terms? Because it's for other people, it does give this connotation. They're oh, it's only the people who use this is only for bad things. And even I said, I was talking with people, they're oh, I heard if I use Tor, all the hackers will be able to see me and attack me. And I'm that goes against what the whole point of the tool is about. It's actually nobody can see you. So the imagination flies, it goes all the way into what is the dark web? What is going on? So the last we, talk with that, the last we are helping the government and the media when they want to push the idea that these things are bad, and they will hurt them on protecting us and stuff like that, and trying to avoid them to be popular and be acceptable by everybody. And I'm not talking only about Tor, avoiding this type of perception helps also Apple and other, major companies to be providing the same type of, which I believe everybody should be doing, I hope that day when, every single thing on the internet works and operate just like things does inside of the Tor network, so everybody has the same level of protection,
when Satoshi invented Bitcoin, he stuck around for a little bit, and then he disappeared into the. He was scared, or she was scared of government agencies, of large banking conspiracies, of for his or her life or body. Do you have issues personally? Have you ever been threatened or anything like that from agencies? Do you have to look over your shoulder because you're working in this? And second part of this question is there a plan to become autonomous for the Tor project? Is there a plan where the people behind it can walk away and it starts just living by itself, like a self-autonomous sort of network, I guess?
Yes, so related to agencies, like, no, I never been. And I think, yes, might surprise some people. We actually go to meetings and we do workshops, like they have their own events. Like, I don't know. I don't go, but like normally Roger, he have been to FBI, event, explain what Tor is and explain like this mystifying Tor to them, like, also, other agencies, police enforcement, like NYPD or even like abroad. But like, in a matter of being invited and give a presentation and explain the technology and educate people on that. I guess like in general that I would just generalize a little bit, but that is a love and hate relationship, right? Like at the same time, some aspects of the government really love us and could be for like whatever reason, can be like for human rights reason, because there are people in the government who really love us for enabling human rights defenders, to access the internet and do their thing. There are some people, like who love us because they are agents who want to hide the identity when they're doing the work on the internet. And there's some people who really hate us, who like truly believe that we are the enablers or that we're enabling all the evil that is in the world and we should not exist. So I think that is that. And like when we say the government, like there are multiple slices. I used to work for the federal government of Brazil, and I understand like it's not one single composition, it's not one single mindset. As a matter of fact, there is a difference between the workers who are always there, no matter the administration that changes, like, and the ones that come with the administrations that comes, and change over time. So it's very complex to like say everybody's one way or another, but I can simplify that by saying that is a love and hate relationship, right? Like there's some aspects of it that really likes us, even fund us, give us grants. And there's some other aspects of it that like just wanted to destroy us and not let us exist, and about the being autonomous, like, and let it be. I will give an example of like some from my past, or like my old, like I'm an old lady, people don't believe that, but like, back in the 90s, I was very involved with like radio stations, community radio stations, the FM allies and stuff like that. And, self-made radio station by the community and stuff like that. I don't like to call it pirate radio stations because I don't think they are, like. So, and that was a project, like in Brazil, where when I met the project, nobody from the project could tell me who started. Like nobody knew who started the radio station. It's being there, it's being controlled by the community and passing from hands to hands, that nobody could tell me like who started. And it was the oldest one in Brazil. And that is beautiful, like that is extremely beautiful when you meet someone that nobody even know who started, like. So yes, I hope that someday, people can not even remember who like Roger or Nick or Paul was, but like they are using Tor and it's everywhere. I do believe that like that would be great if you achieve that somehow.
Awesome. I think that was really great. I don't know, kind of way to round things out. Did you guys have any more questions? Because this was such an informative episode. Oh, wait, I have a question. I have a good one. This is so complicated, right? I think a lot of people, they want to be private, they want to be secure, but they don't feel comfortable with technology. It's very uncomfortable. What resources would you recommend for people to get a little bit more private in their lives?
Yes, I definitely recommend Tor, of course. So you can download the browser for, desktop. There is a Tor browser for Android. You can easily find on the App Store. But also, because of complications with app, there is another project called Onion Browser, because there's so many out there on iOS. So Onion Browser is the one that we recommend for iOS. And I also would, if I can, say the ways that people can support us, because I think that is like we are huge. Like the nonprofit might be small, but we have like a group of volunteers. Like I said, only the server side is like 6,000 people, whatever. So first of all, if you have any money, if you can help us, we are nonprofit. Like any direct donations allows us to be agile on our development. Like grants are great, but grants are slow and push us, in slow mode. And we need to be agile. And so go to donate.torproject.org. There is a link there for cryptocurrency. And we have wallets for like a bunch of currencies out there. So if you can, that would be great. But if you also, not only technical expertise, but like if you are someone, who knows Tor and want to teach others about Tor, or if you know like more than one language and one translator to help others access Tor, or help us do user research, we just launched a great website called community.torproject.org, and you will see all the different aspects of our community, and hopefully you can find one that like, your skills match and you're, you feel excited about, and you can jump in and help us and be part of our community. Like I would invite everybody.
Well, I hope we all get to start meeting in person again soon, because this was a little teaser of more fun conversations to come. Thank you so much, Isabela. One more time, everybody go check out Tor, download it now, tell your friends that are weird and don't know what it is. This is a good way for people to learn. And I think these conversations are really important. So we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And we'll see everybody next time on the Tatiana Show.
What's the point of all this technology without a little love in our lives? Our hosts, Tatiana Moroz, Dr. Stephanie Murphy, and Lauren Kasovitz, have come together to bring you Proof of Love. Go to proofoflovecast.com. The Tatiana Show has been brought to you by CryptoMediaHub.com, a boutique marketing and PR agency for Bitcoin and beyond. Hey there, it's time for the show, the Tatiana Show, where you make friends and talk life and crypto. We gotta think and reflect and use lots of intellect with our hearts when we work together. I know that it can be so hard out there, looking all around and saying that life ain't fair. So that is why we will fight and stay up late at night, listening to the Tatiana Show. Thank you for listening to the Tatiana Show. Please follow us on Twitter at Queen Tatiana or on Facebook and Instagram at Tatiana Moroz Music. More episodes can be found at thetatianashow.com, and make sure you leave a review on iTunes and tell your friends. You are listening to The Tatiana Show. This show may contain adult content, language, and humor and is intended for mature audiences. If that's not you, please stop listening. Nothing you hear on The Tatiana Show is intended as financial advice, legal advice, or really anything other than entertainment. Take everything you hear with a grain of salt. Oh, and if you're listening to us on an affiliate network, the ideas and views expressed on this show are not necessarily those of the network that you're listening on or of any sponsors or any affiliate products you may hear about on this show.